Hey there everyone, welcome to another episode of Music is a Journey. I'm Peter Scove. So what I'm doing today is, wow, I'm joining a thread. I said I was not going to do that for a while now, but I couldn't help it. This one here was kind of a special one, I thought. So a video just showed up in my recommendations from YouTube, and it was for a fellow named Daryl who has a channel called Northern Vinyl Guy. So that caught my attention because Northern Vinyl Guy, I thought he might just be Canadian. A fellow knucklehead like me. So I thought I'd check him out and see what he was up to. And he was celebrating having 50 subscribers. He said he woke up in the morning to check out his channel and realized he'd reached 50 subscribers. And to celebrate, he wanted to have a thread. And his thread has 4 criteria, 4 questions we need to answer. So I thought, well, why the heck not? Let's jump on and support this guy here. So the very first question, the very first thing we have to do is to show a 45 that was released in the year 1979, or he did say possibly 1980, but maybe because, you know, 45 going, his birthday was in May, so probably going up until May 1980, but whatever. Anyway, I don't have any 45s, and if you know, I actually don't really have very much vinyl at all. Practically everything I have is on CD here. But I left a comment saying that I'd like to jump on your thread. I don't have any 45s, but I'd like to talk about a 45 that was released in 1979 and then show the album on CD, which he said that was fine and he was curious to know what I'd pick. So I decided to pick, oh, here we go. Here's an image I got off Discogs. This is It's Time, Chapter 3 in the 8 chapters song series put out by Saga over the course of their first 4 albums, where they were all quite random. So chapter 3 does appear on the second album, but is not in the chronological order or ordinal order. That one, you know, not 1, 2, 3. But anyway, It's Time. It's from this album here, Images at Twilight, Saga's second album released in 1979. And this is the only album to feature Greg Chad on keyboards. Now, the debut album had somebody else on keyboards, and the following album was with their, I think it's their permanent keyboard player. And the reason why I'm mentioning this and Greg Chad is because I have this book here, Saga the Biography, and there are 3 or 4 pages in here talking about the trouble with Greg Chad. He was not happy about, I think it had something to do with songwriting credits, and he decided to go through a legal course of action, suing Saga, suing Phase One Studios with Paul Gross, and he felt that Greg Chad felt that he was very much in his right to follow this course, but of course it ruffled a lot of feathers. Apparently he wasn't really quite fitting in well with the band either, so who knows how it all really began, but anyway, he felt he was not being treated fairly and equitably for the efforts he put in, and he did actually write some very nice keyboard parts on this album here. But especially Michael Sadler, the vocalist of Saga, really had a lot of things to say about that. It's been a while since I read the book, but it came to my mind, and I thought since it's the only album the guy appears on, I'll make a mention of it. So anyway, from Saga's Images at Twilight, the 45, which was released in 1979, the year that Daryl at Northern Vinyl Guy was born, that's It's Time, Chapter 3. So the next one is to talk about an album that was released in 1979. And I was kind of thinking, what am I going to do? And I had a couple in mind, but I decided to go for one that was just easy to reach. Saga was easy to reach, and this other one was also easy to reach, and that is Max Webster, Mutiny Up My Sleeve, the 3rd Max Webster album. According to the notes on the back, it was originally released in 1979. It says so back here. This was also my first Max Webster album, and as you can see, I got it on the Rock Candy label. This was also my first Rock Candy label release that I ever picked up. Rock Candy is a label out of the UK that reissues albums that in many cases are out of print or obscure or hard to find or just in desperate need of a reissue. And they do a nice package where they put in bonus tracks, usually live tracks or unreleased tracks or B-sides or studio run-throughs, whatever. They pack it up and they put in a nice little booklet inside with a 3,000 word essay. It's a really nice package. The only problem I had with some of their releases, I felt the sound quality was lacking. There were times I felt the remastering had been poorly done, and I made a whole video about that. But I've heard from people more recently that there was an issue with one person in particular who was in charge of some of the remastering, and now it's another person who's more in charge. So the results have become much better. Also, it depends if the remastering is coming from the original master tape or if it's coming from a CD. And that was the problem apparently with one of the albums I was really unhappy with, was that the remastering actually came from a CD. I mean, it's already been mastered to CD, so now they're remastering it. But anyway, that's beside the point. This is Max Webster, Mutiny Up My Sleeve, the third album, released in 1979. Okay, so next up, he said that he is looking for the 50th album in our collection. And so what he did was to go to his Discogs page and just take a look at his collection and see what the 50th album was. Now, I don't have a lot of stuff on Discogs because I don't buy everything through Discogs, and I haven't put my stuff all on Discogs. But sounds like a cat wants to come in. Just a moment. So I went to my iTunes library and took a look at what the 50th album was. Now I had to kind of massage it a bit because one album was actually one I don't have anymore. I just still have it in the library. I put it in before I got rid of it. And another one is a compilation album which I bought just for one track only. And I wasn't really sure about counting those in, but I thought if I counted them, what I ended up having was an album that I talked about fairly recently. So I decided not to count them, and that moved me along to, well, Ancients, Voice of the Void, which I actually talked about earlier this year. Because earlier this year I did a video on the Juno Award winners and nominees for Best Heavy Metal Album of the Year, since the award was first awarded in 2012. And Ancients got a Juno Award for this album here, I believe. So this is a 2016 release. That means they probably got it in 2017 or possibly 2018. But anyway, that's Ancients' Voice of the Void. This is a... there's a lot of sludge element in here, but it is basically a progressive heavy metal band. Two of the members coming from Mission, British Columbia, so I actually have mentioned Ancients at least 2, if not 3 times in past videos. But what the heck. Their new album, for heaven's sake, their new album, they've been talking about it now for over a year, and last I checked, it is still not out yet. It's like last year they said they had recorded it and it was coming out at the end of the year, and then it was going to be the beginning of this year, and last I checked it was still, I don't know, something was still going on, so... maybe I should check again. It might be out by now. But anyway, Voice of the Void by Ancients from the Vancouver area. And then the last one was to have a band or an album or a song title with a number in it. Now, I seem to remember that Daryl said that exactly, that it should have a number in it. And immediately I knew who I was going to talk about. But I just watched Steve at All the World's a Stage. He just did his... contribution to this thread, and he said that the number should be 100. And I think it's because in Daryl's video he decided he would use the number 100 because that's his next goal for subscribers, and he talked about the band Haircut 100. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to massage it a little bit. So the band I wanted to talk about is 5440, which is a band that I had no interest in until about 2 or 3 months ago, and now I'm getting pretty close to completing their studio catalog, which is 15 albums. And I actually just got one in the door yesterday that I was listening to, and I was really excited to talk about it, but then Steve said 100. So this is 5440, the name of the band, and if you add these numbers together, you get 96. And this album here is called Smiling Buddha Cabaret. It's their 6th album, released in, was it 1994, right? So, 6th album added on to 94, that gives us 100. Ha, there you go, Daryl, got you 100. Steve, I did 100. Hooray for me. So yeah, and actually this is an album I really wanted to talk about in another video that I had planned coming up, but I guess I'll swap albums around then. I'll talk about the other one in that video. And because I'm really excited about 5440, I'm going to do a video about all of the albums that I have, probably in a couple of weeks. And there actually are, I think there are no videos on YouTube. I've searched, and all I can find on YouTube are either official music videos or songs from the albums, which of course is not a video, it's just the song with the album cover, or some interviews with Neil Osborne, the main dude in the band here, the vocalist. I can't find any videos of people talking about 5440's discography, and that is just really, really shocking. So anyway, this is Smiling Buddha Cabaret, their 6th album, and this was probably their 2nd biggest selling album. The one before that, Dear Dear, which I talked about very recently, I think is their biggest selling one. The song off here is Ocean Pearl. That was the big single off this one here. It's on pretty much all of the compilations and live albums and so forth. And this is a really cool album. It has some of the bands, like the band started out in the Vancouver underground scene, like an indie and punk, and it does have a lot of that feel and in some of the songs, quite aggressive punkishness, but it also has a bit of a grungy feel and just mostly a 90s alternative rock feel. And they did, you know, come out of the 80s, so they have some bits of 80s elements still hanging on just a little bit here and there. Maybe not so much on this album anymore, but this is one of the albums I would say if you've never heard 5440 and you want to get an album to hear what they sound like, I would recommend Smiling Buddha Cabaret or the previous one, Dear Dear. Those would be the top 2 I think you should get if you don't get a compilation. But anyway, there it is, 5440, the 6th album. That brings us with a band with a number in the name and reaching 100 through that. And that's it. Okay, so there it is. That's my contribution towards Northern Vinyl Guys thread for celebrating 50 subscribers and 45 years of age. Congratulations, Daryl, and I hope to see you around. I'll be checking out some of your other videos later on. Alright everyone, thanks for watching. I'll be back with another a non-thread video, hopefully this weekend here. So maybe we'll see you around on that one there. Take care everyone. Bye.